Hey, we're back with another episode of Before You Buy. That show will give you some straight up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest games releasing. As usual, it's me, Jake, and today we're talking about Into the Dead, Our Darkest Days. You might be asking, like, what the hell is this? Well, we've covered this game a lot. We've mentioned it on a lot of top 10s over the years. We've really been looking forward to it because of the cool idea. So now it's officially released on early access on Steam. It's $25. I jumped in for the last 2 days to check it out and got a lot to say about it. Essentially, Into the Dead, Our Darkest Days, the concept is kind of like This War of Mine, if you've played that, but with a zombie apocalypse. So it's kind of like a 2D side-scrolling game, but it's rooted deep in tense survival mechanics, inventory management, and people management. It can be very difficult, brutally challenging, and that's kind of the whole appeal here. It's also got kind of elements of, think of like a State of Decay, but 2D. So essentially, you manage a home base. You manage keeping the boarded windows up. You know, every night zombies come through and slowly chip away at it. But all the while, you're also settling in with your survivors, making sure that they're well rested, their mental health is kept up, they're not going insane and stressing out, and you're focused on growing food, cooking food to stay alive, crafting weapons, and crafting upgrades for your whole base. Each survivor can essentially be placed on a task and that will take them that chunk of the day. There's like a day-night system, so you need to choose who's going to do what, when they're going to rest, when they're going to work to keep everybody, hopefully somewhat in good shape, while you choose one character to go out, pick a location, and then scavenge for supplies. And this is where like the actual gameplay comes in, where you're wandering through these beautiful environments, 2D, 3D hybrid type things, going through gas stations, abandoned homes, abandoned apartment buildings, shops, motels, all kinds of things, sneaking around, trying to avoid zombies as much as possible and getting as much loot as you can, and then bringing it back home. That's the general setup, and I'll say ultimately Into the Dead is absolutely an early access game. It has issues. It definitely needs a lot more, straight up. But beneath that, I think the bones are really good. I think this is going to be a really, really cool game. If the developers really stick with it and listen to the community and give feedback, I think this can become something really cool. So it's Texas in 1980, kind of giving the game a little bit of its own unique vibe and setting. It's very sun-drenched, the people are very salt of the earth, and you essentially at the start pick two survivors. They have their own unique traits and abilities, and you go from there. As you start to kind of settle in and venture out, you'll find new survivors, and it all is important because it's all permadeath. If somebody dies, they're dead. You lose them forever. You lose whatever traits or benefits they may have, and there's quite a bit of complexity to it, right? So you'll have one character that doesn't need to eat as much. You'll have one character that doesn't drink alcohol, so you can't essentially give them a beer to lower their stress or their mental health level. Some characters can craft weapons more efficiently and lose less resources. One guy I had was like the best thing ever. He had a larger carrying capacity, and it's just really cool to see all this stuff play out. Story-wise, it's very threadbare. There is a loose structure of objectives, kind of like mysteries or leads you have to follow and pursue when you're out in the 2D exploration parts, and eventually this can connect you to which location on the map you need to pick and ultimately escape and survive. It's structured pretty cleverly as well. Like I already mentioned at the start, the intro, the kind of day-night cycle at home base, but you look at a map, you pick an area, say gas station or motel, and then you go there, and that's its own dedicated level. These levels have a lot of things like from loot, potentially new survivors to bring in, but also scout points where you can find binoculars or like a telescope and then unlock new areas on the map to then head to. So you're constantly unlocking new levels to jump into, and these levels can be revisited. You can find more loot. If you can't carry it all, you can come back later on. And as you do all this, and as the days progress, the zombies banging at the door at your home base, the attacks essentially ramp up, meaning your boarded up Windows meter decreases more and more aggressively. So you're going to need to change home base locations. And to do that, you need to find a place on the map that is one of the 2D exploration levels, and certain designated ones can be completely cleared out of zombies. If you go in and murder every single zombie, you can then claim this area as your new home base. And thankfully, all the stuff you craft for your home base does carry over. So if you built more beds or you built a cooking station, that will transfer over to your next home base. Relocating your other base also gives you access to actually reach and walk to those other 2D exploration levels. So it's kind of like expanding your little fog of war. And it's cool because it can all just be very tense and very satisfying, and also extremely stressful, because if you've played any game like this, you know people are needy. They need all kinds of things. They have issues. They're constantly getting hungry. They're constantly getting tired. And the game really builds on that. You'll have a character that then is exhausted. Then they can go from exhausted to just completely drained. From there, they can get depressed. They can have all other sorts of issues and just be prone or susceptible to more problems. And it's very easy to just snowball into complete disaster. Many times you're going to find yourself with like a bunch of survivors that are just at death's door. They're hungry, they're starving, they're tired, they can't go out there. You have one character that you can give some junk food and a beer and give them just enough in their survival meters to go out, and hopefully where you go to explore, you end up finding enough loot to really revive everyone and bring the place back up to speed. It does happen, and the ebb and flow is really good, and it feels fairly well balanced there. Where I think the game does need work is with the actual 2D side-scrolling exploration levels. Encounters with zombies are not the greatest. So the game emphasizes stealthing around a lot, which I really, really love. It gives you the ability to throw glass bottles to distract these zombies, and little hiding areas to kind of tuck away to hide from zombies, but those aren't very effective. I think the game needs more hiding places and stuff like that, but also just generally a little bit more fleshed out stealth, a little bit of a stronger detection system, a little bit less finickiness with the zombies. They're very unpredictable, and I don't mean in a zombie way. I mean more in like a gameplay AI way, where sometimes their sight line is weird, sometimes it's so far, sometimes zombies just completely get locked up and frozen. So it is very, very early access in that regard. Also with combat. Combat is basically you swing your weapon, your melee weapon, or a gun occasionally, but the gun kind of alerts everybody, so it's not really usually worth it. But you're swinging around melee weapons, and they break very quickly, which is fine. It's a survival game, a survival horror game. That's one thing, but the melee itself just is not good. It's very weak, it's not very satisfying, and you swing and you dodge, and you swing and you dodge. And the hit detection is really iffy, and some enemies, like they tank the hits, and then other times they don't, and they're stunned, and it's just kind of all over the place. The good thing about it is that it is incredibly difficult, and the permadeath is a big thing, and if you die, you die. And it can happen quite a bit. I got very deep into the game during one of my playthroughs, and I was getting a little comfortable, and the further you venture out, the more aggressive the zombies become, the more zombies there are, and you can get downed pretty quickly. When you get surrounded by zombies, there's basically nothing you can do. But in some of those instances where a zombie spots you and you start running, and they start running after you, and you vault over like a windowsill and you climb down a pipe all as they're screaming, and then you finally get to the escape point and get back to your base with the loot, that can be a really, really addictive and fun experience. I just think it can become so much better when the stealth and the combat is more engaging. I'm looking forward to them beefing it up. I don't know how exactly, but that's something I definitely want to see. Could also use some quality of life things here and there. Like, the inventory space is very limited, but even just like how you carry things is extremely limited. When you're out in the field and you pick up something, you can't even use it. Other than weapons, if you pick up a weapon, you can equip it. If you find a healing item or any other consumable, you just can't use it in your inventory. That's just kind of like a small example of a lot of little things this game has in terms of like menus and tweaking and organization and quality of life features that it definitely needs some work on. The game is just primed to have a lot more to it. It already feels like it's got some personality, and like the character screens and some of the dialogue when you get new characters, everybody feels really distinct. And again, because it's 1980, everybody just feels really unique. Some people look goofy. They have short shorts or cowboy hats. It just feels very of the time and just gives this game a real great identity. Along with that, the game is quite a looker. Despite some visual bugs and stuff here and there, some blurriness, like when you're running or you're stealth killing a zombie or you're running and jumping across a rooftop, the game just looks and feels really, really smooth. It's just cool to look at. Plus, the zombies can be really scary, and I'm hoping they can really introduce a lot more variety to them. One thing I don't like is that there are like some zombies in the 2D exploration plane that are in the foreground or the background that you can't kill. They're only there waiting to be woken up, which inevitably they could be, and then you're completely screwed because you weren't able to thin the herd at all with stealth kills because they're like essentially away from the playing field. They only come into action when shit hits the fan, and it just means you're always screwed. So it's weird, it's iffy. I also think the game could really use some of those effects or attributes that affect you carrying over into the 2D exploration. You know, like you'll have your characters at your home base that will be depressed or hungry or whatever. And maybe it wasn't clear to me, but like I didn't find a lot of ways where those effects or those issues, other than health, would carry over into when I went out and did some 2D exploration and scavenging. I would just like it to be more cohesive, more connected, where the stresses and the anxieties of home base also carry out to when you're out in the field. I know that'll probably make the game more difficult, but that is the point of these types of games. I think over time, this game can really be a great generator for cool, unique stories. And by that, I mean like a situation you find yourself in. You're trapped in a room where on both ends of the doors are hordes of zombies, or you're sneaking around and you set off a car alarm and all the zombies start running towards you and you got to go on a big foot chase and you pick up a weapon on your way and you get out by the skin of your teeth, right? The game is so primed for tons of those moments. I had some, but that was in between some, early access issues, the simplicity of it, the fact that it isn't completely finished in terms of like its offering, in terms of the fact that I did have a couple of crashes here and there. I'm really looking forward to what they're doing here because like the lead system, like the escape plan system works well. And when the game does throw surprises and wrenches in your exploration, that can also be really cool. Maybe you're creeping around on a rooftop and suddenly the roof collapses and you fall through and you're trapped on a floor with a bunch of zombies. Like the more the game emphasizes that stuff, I think it's really going to win, especially because like some of the rooms, some of the environments, the lighting, your flashlight, the muzzle flash of a gun at night, it all feels like really cinematic and atmospheric. So I hope they lean into quality of life improvements, really doubling down and enhancing all the survival mechanics, enhancing character and story moments as well. And again, I'm just looking forward to seeing what they do. The developers, by the name Pickpock, have been pretty upfront about what early access means. They said this early access version, they're planning for it to be about a year, depending on player feedback and like what changes and what comes up. And they also stated, this is an early access version of the game that is an, and I quote, fun and compelling slice of the intended final game. There are a lot of features, systems, and content still to build. So I'm looking forward to that. At the end of the day, I'd rather just buy a game and it be finished, but in the world of PC and in the world of smaller games, that's not always the case. And here with Into the Dead, I've just been really happy to see it on the ground floor, because if this is only a slice of what they're cooking, I think it does have a lot of potential. Issues aside, I think Into the Dead can really be something cool and really have some legs to it. But that's just a quick Friday before you buy. You know how this goes. I give you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinions. So now I want to hear yours down in the comments. This game has been out for a couple of days in a variety of territories. So let us know if you jumped in, if you got any opinions, if you got any, nitpicks, feedback for the developer. I've already seen a lot of great suggestions online. So let me know what you think of this. Let me know what you think of this idea. I think eventually this could come to consoles and really kill it. But if you're on PC, let us know what you think. If you like this video, clicking the like button's all you got to do. It really helps us out. And if you're new, consider subscribing, maybe hitting that notification bell, because we put out videos every single day. But that's it. I'm Jake Baldino. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.